Hey guys, welcome to this tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to create a basic HTML form, how to create a online database, SQL database, how to get those two to interact with each other, how to display dynamic data, HTML data from the SQL database, and how to enable downloading RTF files with custom information from the database so that users can download and print the ones that they want. So I'm going to show you how this basically works. And if you go to the main page, it's a random survey. I'm just going to make a random submission. I'm just going to type in random stuff just to show you how it works. And once I click submit, go to the database, and yep, John Apple. If I create download and save it, and there you have it. It's an RTF file you can open with Microsoft Office, or you can open with openoffice.org, as I'm doing right now. And of course, you can also delete it. So delete it and click yes. And there you go. That's basically how it works. And of course, if I click this button right here, it brings me back to the main page. So how does that all work? First, I'm going to show you the index.php page. And here I have all of the basic form elements. Of course, I have the doc type, the HTML tags, the header tags, and the most important part is the form here. I'm using the post method, so all the information gets sent to the next page in a hidden format or encrypted format. And once the submit button is clicked, it activates this PHP file, process_form.php. Inside the form tag, I have the various options. So what is your nickname? That would be right here. It says what is your nickname, and then the input type is text. Max length is, well, the size of the text area will be 13 characters, but the max length of characters you can put in is actually 40. And the name of this tag is nickname, which I will be using to refer to my PHP file. And in the same way, I made one for a radio tag, like here, radio tag, selectable menu, horizontally scrolling option bar, and a text area at the bottom. I think the only one I actually left out was radio checkboxes, I believe. So other than that, I do have everything here, so you can see all of the HTML form input tags in action. And of course, I have the submit button right here. So I'm going to submit, and then it's going to go to process, or is it? You're going to go to process_form.php file, which is this one right here. It's once again, it's all in the data, all in the downloadable file that I'm going to give you, including the RTF file right here. The CSS I do have it included, but my CSS wasn't really the focus in this tutorial, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend you going through my CSS writing style to learn from it. I think there's better tutorials for that. So going back to process_form.php, which is basically the form that which is the PHP file that processes the information it received from the random survey page. So if I look at it, of course it starts with my PHP tag. It has the cn.php, which is basically the file that's connecting to the relevant database. And of course, in this one, I'm actually doing it on my this specific file is for the downloadable version, which I made it for my personal XAMPP file configuration, so it might not work for you. You probably have to configure this on your own if you're using your personal XAMPP, unless you have no password and you used root as your username, blah blah blah. And of course, if you're using it for your actual real website, you will have to change this localhost to whatever is relevant to you, and of course your username and your password as relevant as well. But that's what I did for mine, and I do have a protect.php file, and it's just a simple, very basic protection at the minimum someone should have to prevent MySQL injections and people trying to use slashes inside your text boxes to send unwanted PHP files to hack into your server, to your database. So it's I wrote a simple protect PHP file here that I'll be using throughout my tutorial. Feel free to look this up, look up the individual functions on what they do. I'll just include them here so that you can check them out later. And yeah, so I'm going to come back to my process underscore form.php file page, and here I've made a few variables. So time is going to of course equal the current time, so I just use the time PHP function. Nickname is going to be the nickname that's going to be received from the form. So what is your nickname here? If you remember correctly, it had the input tag for this text box had the name of nickname. So, and of course, since the form was sent via post, I'm going to say $underscore post and then nickname to retrieve that specific value. And of course, I'm going to protect it. Use the protect function here to get rid of any unwanted MySQL injections. And then I'm going to label that with a PHP variable of nickname, which I'm using down here to insert into the specific database. So once I have labeled all of the variables that I wanted, I basically create an SQL query saying insert into survey results, and so insert into the table survey results, and these are the table columns, and these are the variables that I want inputted in the specific order. So submission date, time, nickname, secret word, and so on. And of course, I run the SQL query. So result is equal to my SQL query, and then SQL is the variable for the query that I'm going to run. And once I have run that, I then want to say that the survey has been successful in being submitted, and yeah, thank you for submitting the form. And of course, the link to the back to the survey page with index.php page if you want to submit more surveys, or the database.php page if you want to go to the previously submitted forms, so you can download and download or delete previous entries. So now that I've shown you the PHP file that's inputting the data into the database, I'll show you the database, and I'll go over briefly how to create the database in phpMyAdmin. So let's see, going to form. So this is going to be done through my phpMyAdmin. It's slightly different for the XAMPP version because this is for my local host. If you're on your actual web hosting service, you'll have to create a database slightly differently depending on who you are with, and of course it will be a lot different if your specific web host isn't using phpMyAdmin. So if I'm going to go to the database, I'll show you the way I did it, or I had to do it. Databases. Well, first I'll show you what the database looks like. I believe it's form1, that's the database name, and survey results is the table name. And here we have ID, submission date, nickname, secret word, blah blah blah. I think that's that's 9 different columns that we'll be creating. And of course, you can see on this specific page, you can see the ID has some missing numbers in its consecutive order because I've deleted a few. And so in this specific version, you won't be able to use the ID as the total number of applications. So that might be a flaw in table creation, but no, this is just a simple tutorial. It's not going in depth. And yeah, so that's the basic gist of the table, and I'll also be going over how to create that specific database and table layout in phpMyAdmin. So given it, I'm going to let aside that when I'm creating a database in my XAMPP server, I only have to give it a name. Let's say new form now, and number of fields 9. And that's pretty much all I have to do for creating the database. Actually, never mind. I think I just created a table inside the database that I had. So let me go back to, I'll just go back to phpMyAdmin. This is the main page. Go and click the database tab, create a new one, create a new database, new form now, create. Okay, so that's how you create a database in a XAMPP server. If you're on your web host, if you're on your paid web host, it'll be very different, and you might have to even wait a couple minutes before the database actually gets created. Depends on who you're with. I'll leave you to figure that out on your own, since I don't know every single web server or web host. And once we get back here, all I have to do now is create a table name. I'm pretty sure this will be the same for everyone using phpMyAdmin, whether you're on your paid or on your XAMPP. So let's say survey results 3, number of fields is going to be 9. Click go. And I'm going to just refer to this here. I'm just going to bring that up so I can copy and paste. It's really, really easy to create a MySQL table. So first of all, I'm going to just create the names, ID, submission date, nickname, secret word, day, hours, hobby, years, hobby letters or hobby letter, and joke fact. Okay, so for IDs, type is going to be integer, length is going to be I'll just say 11. Default, I don't need to do that. Don't need to do that. Attributes, unsigned, I'm going to put unsigned there. Index primary, auto increment, yes please. And yeah, that's all I need to do for that. Submission date, I also want it to be an integer value. Let's see, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, and 10. So I'm just going to say 11 just to be safe. 11. Don't put current timestamp because you'll be inserting your own custom date. Or I guess you could have used current timestamp, but the way I happen to code my PHP, I just coded it in the PHP itself, so I'll be using none there. Unsigned would be what I want. I don't have to do anything here. Let's see. Index none, AI none. Okay, yep, that's all I have to do. Nickname, I want it to be variable characters. 40 is the max. Let's see, what do I have to do here? Okay, yeah, I think that's all I need to do there. Secret word, same thing. I'll put 60 here. Okay, day hours. Day hours is 27. Okay, so I inserted the custom date. So day hours would be integer, value would be, length would be 2, and I want it to be unsigned. So I'm going to click unsigned. Hobby is going to be variable characters. I'll say 60. Hobby years, integer. Let's see. I have the plus sign at the end, so I have to put variable characters. and I'll put 2. Don't have to do that. Copy letter is variable characters. That's 1. That's all I need. Joke fact text, and I forgot. Did I need Let's see if I. Whoops. Okay, sorry guys. I think you guys missed the last part. I cut off the screen there. So yeah, these are the only ones. There's nothing on the right side here. It's pretty much blank. And let's see. Joke fact. So I'm going to check what I did before on the joke fact. Limit joke fact show. Yeah, text. Yeah, I think text you can just put it blank. I'll put 5,000. So 5,000 is the max character length. So I'm going to say save. And yeah, there you go. That's how you basically create a MySQL database query. It's pretty simple. That's all there is to it. And yeah. So now that I've created the actual database, or at least showed you how to create one, I'm going to come back here and continue explaining the various PHP files that we have. So of course we get the survey results form, the table. Here, the one we just created is actually called new form now. So that's the random name I created. But for your on your page, in your text file, use this survey results as I downloaded, because that's the name that I used in my tutorial, throughout the tutorial. And if it gives you a problem for your web host because you can't use that, no, actually you can. Yeah, you can use the survey results, what I'm talking about. The only thing that you might have conflict is if you're creating your database name as survey results, as it might already be taken in your web host server. So, okay, I just got a bit confused there. So now that we've come back, so the next thing I showed you was going after you've submitted it, after you've gone to process_form.php page and it actually inserted the data into the SQL database. You're given the option to go to this page, go to previously submitted forms, and I have John DB right there. So how do you get the information? Because okay, so this is basically data that's being displayed dynamically from the server. So how do you display data from the MySQL database table to your website? So first thing you have to do, okay, let me show you the correct page. This is database.php. That's the correct file. So let's see, database.php. Do I have here? Yep. So this is the page, and the first thing you have to do, other than the HTML basic, the doc type, blah blah blah, and you have to of course connect, include cn.php for connecting to the correct database in the first place. The most important part is just right here, and basically what I've done is put this piece of PHP code inside the table HTML tag. So the table HTML tag basically has the header columns, nickname, date submitted, options, which corresponds to nickname, date submitted, and options right here. So if I go back to the text file, I'm going to after I create that header column, from then on I want to create a new table row for every single entry that I retrieve from the database. So the first thing I have to do is actually retrieve the information. So I'm going to create an SQL query, and it's going to say select nickname, submission date, ID, which is the name of the columns you created in the SQL table in phpMyAdmin, which I showed you about 5 minutes ago, or I mean like 2 minutes ago. And I want to select that from the correct form, the table, which is survey results, and order by submission date in ascending order, so that the oldest one comes up top. And of course run that query, and for each query display it in a new table row. That's what this while statement is doing. So while row, or any variable name, is equal to MySQL fetch associative array and the query name. So for each query result that you get, do the following: make a date is equal to the date function, and this is basically the number, the Linux timestamp that we submitted into the database, and translate it into the date format we want, and assign it to the variable PHP variable date. And with that information, echo a new table row, new table cell, then row nickname, so echo the nickname, and the date, which we have from right over here. And we also want to create the download.php, so download page and the download link and the delete link with the correct row ID. So that's where the row ID is coming. It's not for counting how many people have submitted forms. It's just for referencing the specific input entry, so that you can either download it or delete it properly as you see fit. And of course, you can analyze how this HTML link is used. Is formatted. So it's basically download.php, and then a question mark to indicate that whatever comes next is going to be PHP variables. And when you use the question mark in variable method, this is the get method as opposed to the post method. Whereas like the post method is to when you use it in HTML form, it sends data in an encrypted format, so it doesn't show. Whereas if you use the method I'm doing right here for the download link, it's actually showing up in the HTML, the URL. Basically, if you go to Amazon.com and you select a few products you want to add to your shopping cart, and if you check back at the URL, it has some like ridiculously long, like some random code. That's basically using the get method. So once I've done that, it's basically doing it for every single entry. So that's how the information is translated from the database onto your actual HTML website for dynamically displayed websites. And let's see, did I cover everything? Yeah. So right. Now I have to show you. Now that I've showed you how to do the download and delete. Of course, if you check out the delete PHP page, all it's doing is it's taking the let's see, it's getting the ID. Where is it? It's getting the ID and then running an SQL query to delete the form, delete the entry with that ID. So delete from survey results where ID is equal to what we got from the URL. And of course, this is just saying that run it. I used the if set method. You can do it in various ways. Please check it out if you don't know what this method is. My method is just really simple here. You can copy and paste it for yourself. And the next most important thing I want to focus on is the download.php page. So what this basically allows you to do is when you click the download button, it actually saves it onto your file, opens in an RTF format, rich text format, and then it has everything there, which I think is quite usable for a variety of purposes. So how did I do this? First, I created a RTF file that had a lot of variable inputs that can be placed inside, or it had a lot of placeholders, which reference a lot of my PHP file. So let's get this thing to open. Let's see, do I already have it opened? Yeah, I think this one's it. Okay, so this is the one that I included in the download folder. So all I did was where I wanted the specific variable to be placed, I used a bracket and then variable name and then close bracket, and I did that for nickname, secret word, and everything else. And what it does, and what I did in the PHP code is in download.php, after saying like requires connection.php, I set the ID because I want to get the specific ID entry. Then I made a user ID which is going to be put here, so user number 32 or number 31, blah blah blah. And then of course I made an SQL query on getting all of the relevant information that has that ID. So ID, nickname, secret word, every single variable that we created, and survey result from the table survey results where the ID is equal to the one we retrieved from the URL through the using the get method, and then run the query. Then for this and then this specific, I'm assigning all of the query results into the into an array called row. So then I can go about assigning a variable name to the individual array variables. So nickname is going to be row nickname. Secret word is going to be row secret word. So that's how you translate everything from the database into PHP variables. And now that you've done that, I'm using the string replace function to say open up the RTF file, which I made into a variable, and file get contents result.rtf. That's the file name I created. And inside that file, whenever there's user ID in brackets, switch it up with the variable that I'm creating that I got from the user database, from the MySQL database. And I did that for every single variable down below. And this part is very important. The header section here declares that this is an MS Word type, even if you might declare later that the file name and download should be survey result.rtf. The .rtf is not going to do anything unless you specifically specify through header content type that it's an MS Word document. So that's very important. Then content disposition is an attachment. Basically, you want it to be downloadable, and you have to include the echo RTF here. Echo / and then whatever variable name you chose to use. If you don't do that, the download does not happen. I don't know exactly why, but that's just how it works. So there you go. And yeah, that's pretty much this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And I'll see you guys next time.